for 13 minutes. Okay, so this is a technique that I showed to students in 201 for creating a simple pad on a slope and trying to get them to understand it. Now, in order to do that, you're going to use a bunch of layers of trace paper. Okay, so all I'm going to do is I'm going to create just a simple rectangular pad right here in this area where the slope starts to get a little bit less. Okay, so the very first thing that's crucial that you do with this is to make sure you mark the corners of the property so that you can realign every sheet on top of each other. If you do not do this, then you're not going to know how one sheet relates to the other. Okay, so I just pretty much kind of mark those two corners. If you want to, you can take tape and put a piece of tape down so that they don't move. See if there's a roll of tape in the... That's fine. I'll just use this. This will work. One. You don't have to tape stuff down if you don't want to. Okay. So step number one: make sure you demarcate the edges of the site so that you can stack things right on top of each other. So you can write that down as instruction number one. All right. Instruction number two: find the space between lines that is going to be the elevation of your pad. So I'm going to say that where I want to put my pad is right here. Okay? So it's the space between those two lines. Okay? And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a little dashed line of what I want my pad to look like. So around that I want my pad to look something like this. I'm going to put a little kind of dashed line. Okay, so that's the area that I'm trying to make flat. Okay, all right. So here's where the trick comes in. You're going to grab another sheet of paper. I guess for the purposes of clarity, I will tape it down. I don't know whose drawing this is, by the way. Huh? Is it? Oh, wow. So I'm not wasting my time, huh? Doing it for someone else? Okay, so here's my first layer. So you are going to take each of the lines that is below the little X that you made, right? And you are going to run them out past the pad. Now, the first time that I do this, I am going to do this with a retaining wall in the back and a retaining wall in the front. Or actually, you know what? I changed my mind. I am going to do this with a slope in the back and a slope in the front. Or maybe, you know what? It's not going to work. It's too steep. So I'm going to have to do a retaining wall in the back and a slope up front. Then you'll get the idea of both. All right. So let's start with the front ones. So obviously, this first terrain line is going to come across here like this. Right? And what I want for this first terrain line is I want it to come all the way out to here, go back to here, and then continue on. So I'm just going to hypothetically say that that is contour number 1000. Okay? So far, so good? So everything from that line forward has dirt that's being piled there. Okay, good. Take another one. The other thing about this method is it gives you stuff to cut by if you want it. How many minutes am I at, Andrew? I got 10 minutes left? Okay, so now I'm going to go to contour interval. I'm going to call this 1000 or 999. I don't know what the step interval is, but it doesn't matter. We're just working on an assumption. So this is 999. Okay? So now that line's going to come across here. And if I don't want to use a retaining wall, I have to kind of offset it from my pad, right? So when I get to here, I do this. And then I bring it back until it gets to 999 again. And then that one goes around this way. Okay? Okay, next level. Another piece of trace. Yeah, you guys will use a lot of trace using this technique. All right, so. And the only reason I haven't did mark the corners on the previous one is because I've got them taped. Otherwise, I would have to put that mark there, that mark there, that mark there, and that mark there. Okay? I'll do the same thing again. This time I'll put the marks in. What the heck? We'll go here, 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 and here. So now we're at 998. So now 998 comes across, and it juts forward. And it comes across, and this time I'm going to kind of bring it, oops, just to there, so across, sorry. Okay, so that's 998. One more, because you see that right there? That's a vertical drop, so I'm going to have to just slightly adjust that contour. So, another layer here. I should have been more careful and I wouldn't have to do this twice. Wouldn't have had to do this contour. All right, so now I take this next one, which was 997, and I'm going to go to about here, and I'm going to kind of just come forward like that, and then I'm going to let it keep its original shape. That's 997. Okay? So right there, that has created the outward part of the pad. And we've made it, this one, we decided to make this one, you don't have to, you could have put a retaining wall in, but we decided to make this one without a retaining wall. The maximum slope angle that would exist between these contour lines would be about 45 degrees. That's called the maximum angle of retention, and that's pretty common for most slopes. Okay, now let's go from the line of the X up. Okay, this time we're using a retaining wall, and this is where a lot of students get confused, is they don't realize that when you use a retaining wall, all of the contour lines disappear, and this is what causes the confusion. Every contour line that hits the retaining wall and goes behind it is right on top of the next one. And this is what the intent of this was, is to kind of show people what's going on, because you're isolating one set of lines from the other. All right, so here goes the next one. I'll put the marks in the corner. Okay, so here's my X right here. So I'm going to take the next line and I'm going to run across until it hits the outline that I made. Then I'm going to go back and come across, come forward until I get to the contour line that I want. Notice that it's not the contour line where the pad below is. It's to either side of this. This is the one I'm trying to keep right here, where the X is. So notice that these two are not in contact with each other. And there's one. Right? So that's 1001. How many minutes am I at?
450 left.
All right. Hurry, hurry, hurry. Conceptually, once you've done this once on paper, you probably can figure out to just keep doing it yourself on the computer or something. Okay, so the next line, the 2002, or 1002. So that one comes across here until it hits the retaining wall. And at the retaining wall, it's going to be right on top of the other one. So it goes right over the other one, comes across. And now it's getting hard for me to see through the paper, but I believe that contour line is right there. That's a mistake. Okay, so that is 1002. Got a couple more. Let me kind of hurry through it. Again, mark the corners and come across. It hits here, goes back just a smidgen, comes across, Comes forward, oops, and it goes, not there, it goes here. That was a boo-boo. Okay? And then the last contour, the one above it, is just the original contour. There's no difference. So that sequence of things, right, creates the pad. So if you now take each of these, like say I wanted to cut this level, 102, and slip it into my model, the shape that I need to cut is that shape right there. If I cut that shape right there, I can replace the same one in the model and then do the next one and the next one and the next one, right? And when I stack those suckers up, they're going to be a retaining wall and pad. Now in the 201 class, what I did is I had the students actually cut a little baby model of this. I'm going to just trust that you guys can do that if you want, or you don't have to. So you're seeing the shapes that I'm generating? So you cut those suckers out and you have your pieces that you need for your model. Okay, does that make sense? Because conceptually you understand how to make each of these pieces, right? All the way down. Okay, and that will, if you want to just experiment with it, just get you can get like 7 little pieces of whatever. Just make a consistent straight slope like this, right? So you make a little block like that. That's what I had them do in 201. It was about this big. And then you make a pad and you figure out which ones go behind and which ones go in front, and that clarifies it. Okay? All right. That's it.